Hello and welcome to CS-232, Programming Concepts and Methodology 2. I'm your professor, Professor Otters, and this class serves as the second installment of the C++ programming series. So the class you took before this should have been CS-225, and it's a prerequisite for this class. So you should have some programming experience, some knowledge of C++, and this class is intended to build on that. So for this video, we're going to walk through the syllabus together, and then if there's any, nuances or other additional information that you would need to be successful in the class, I'll give it to you here. So as I mentioned before, my name is Professor Otters, and then here is my email. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, okay, that's a little bit better, right? Um, so that's my email. However, Canvas has an inbox option. You'll see it right here on the left. So the interface has an option for inbox. And that message system is preferred over email because it tells me automatically what course you're from, what your name is, and that is helpful so I can kind of figure out what specifically you would need help with if you're in that class. It's also faster. I view the Canvas inbox more frequently than I do my actual work email. I have office hours every Monday between 12 to 12:30 p.m. via Zoom. And then I've also included the Zoom link, meeting ID, and passcode. Something I want to note here is that with Zoom, I've actually been having some weird stuff with my computer lately. And so a couple times it's kind of kicked me out and I wasn't able to log back in. So if you do go into meeting, check your Canvas messages. If I'm late or something, I will tell you if something's going on with the computer. And then you to me as well. If something is not happening or you're not able to log in, just keep me updated about what's happening and I'll check my messages. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the prerequisite for this class is CS-225, and it is strongly recommended that you have taken Math 150. So this course emphasizes data structures and additional software engineering practices. So you're going to be designing and developing larger programs than in the previous class, and you're going to be applying data abstraction, encapsulation, and other OOP concepts. And then the topics are listed here: arrays, records, strings, linked lists, stacks, queues, hash tables, trees, recursive functions, recursive backtracking, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, information hiding, pointers, references, and more. And then, as I mentioned previously, please contact me via Canvas. It is preferred. If you need to email me, if something's going on with Canvas and you're not able to access it, use your school email address and make sure to include your full name and the course you're from in the subject line. And then it typically takes about a full, like no more than 24 hours for me to respond. But if for some reason I don't respond within that time, send another message because your message might have gone buried in the inbox or something else might have happened. So yeah, feel free to follow up if I'm not responding fast. And then you can also request a Zoom meeting for me if you prefer to meet face to face or screen to screen, I guess. And just let me know in advance and we'll schedule some time for that. Okay. And then as far as the text and materials go, the required reading is data abstraction and problem solving with C++ by Frank Carino. It says 6th edition. Students have used earlier editions and the content is the same. So yeah, that would suffice. If you have an earlier edition, I think you can use that as well. But yeah, the 6th edition is preferred if you have it because it directly correlates with the chapters that are depicted in the modules. Additionally, you need access to a dedicated IDE. We do not use online compilers in this class. If you're using an online compiler for like prototyping or like checking if a thing works, like that's fine. But you should not be using these for your projects. You need a dedicated IDE like Visual Studio Code, or CLion. And then specifically, online compilers are not allowed for exam video submissions. So we'll talk about exams in a little bit, but you cannot use you cannot use online compilers for that. I simply will not grade the submission if you've used an online compiler. So that would mean that as we're getting started in the course, please make sure that the IDE of your choosing, in our class, we use Visual Studio. Like for most of the instructional videos, it's Visual Studio. I might have a couple where I've used Visual Studio Code, but it's a mix between Professor Solis's videos and my videos, but we mainly stick to those two IDEs. So yes, so during the first week, please make sure that your IDE is working, you're able to run code, you're not getting any errors. Make sure to set that up as early as you can. That way, if you do run into problems, we catch them early. And then the course delivery weekly expected. Oh, so our class is asynchronous, meaning we will not be having regular meetings. Instead, you'll be accessing content on a weekly basis through Canvas. Each week begins on Monday at midnight and ends the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. unless otherwise noted. And otherwise noted typically means finals week. And on finals week, the last day of class is on a Friday, not a Sunday. So there's that. All assignments, quizzes, and activities must be submitted by their weekly deadlines. And deadlines are very explicitly stated on the assignment sheets. Weekly modules unlock the start of the week automatically. I have them set such that they are time released. Regular weekly quizzes based on assigned readings, exercises, and class material will be required. So you will be doing quizzes within the modules. Each weekly module contains clearly stated learning outcomes. This is typically stated in the introduction section of the module. And so it's something you want to keep track with so you can kind of take inventory of what you know, what you don't know, and then work on what you don't know. Expect to spend about 9 hours a week on the coursework. I think with online classes, sometimes students get behind because they underestimate how much time online study requires. It's going to require about the same time as an in-person class. You will have to make up that time, regardless if it's in person or online. You will need 9 hours per week to do all of this. And some people find that they take more time to finish things, especially during like exam weeks and similar events. So make sure that you carve out time each week dedicated to this class and don't skimp on it because it's easy to get behind in your classes. So attendance quizzes are given every week. And the first two attendance quizzes, so the attendance quiz for week 1 and week 2 must be completed within 24 hours. So while you're watching this and you haven't completed the attendance quiz, maybe open up another window and do that really quick. You want to make sure to do it so that you can keep your seat in the class. Basically, these two specific attendance quizzes are similar to arriving on the first day of class and the second day of class. And then professors typically drop students who don't show up on the first or second day. So this is similar to that. Additionally, if you are not participating in the class, you're missing assignments and lots of assignments, lots of quizzes, I might drop you from the course. If you're not participating, then you're not really present in the course, and then I will drop you. I will email you before I drop you or message you on Canvas if it's a lack of participation thing. But typically, yeah, you want to stay on top of that. And if something is happening in your personal life, talk to me, right? I'm a human. And then maybe we could work something out, and then maybe we won't work something out, and you need to, withdraw or do something. Life happens, right? But it's always good to talk about it, especially because I've been where you are before. I was also a student at one point, so I know how life is. If you decide to withdraw from the class, please make sure to drop within the allotted time frame. Otherwise, you might end up with a final grade, like a failing grade, if you just kind of stop. And then additionally, there are you want to stay on top of the timelines for, drop with W, drop with refund, all those things. If you're, considering that maybe the class isn't, it's not the right time for it or something. So there will be 6 exams, including the final exam. Exam 1 through 5 include a practical programming component. So what that equates to is that students need to upload a YouTube video that demonstrates their code and explains their process. Rubrics for these are contained within the module as well. So for almost all of the exams, you get 2 weeks notice, so you can work on your project for 2 weeks. I think one or two of them, it's 3 weeks, so you have 3 weeks to do it. All code must be demonstrated in a dedicated IDE. As I mentioned before, online compilers are not permitted for exam video submissions. I will not grade them. The final exam is not comprehensive, and it only covers material after exam 5. And the final exam does not have a YouTube video component to it. All the exams include a multiple choice and true-false component. Additional details are provided prior to each exam regarding the prompt for the project that you do for the YouTube video portion. As far as late work is concerned, I used to have like not accept it, but then sometimes students would message me that something, personal was going on, and I might make exceptions sometimes. So I figured I would set it in stone here. Extenuating circumstances happen sometimes, and if something is beyond your control and prevents you from completing an assignment or doing something, make sure that you talk to me as soon as you can, as early as you can, so we can set up a plan for you and determine what to do. If you have late work and no extenuating circumstances regarding it, I will accept it, but there's an automatic 20% deduction from the total points possible on the assignment, and then for every week that it's late, an additional 20% deduction, which adds up pretty fast. So please make sure to stay on top of things so that you can get as many points as possible and pass the class and do well and learn as much as you can. My grading policy is pretty standard. The discussions are 20% of the grade. Exams are 60%, so they're the bulk of the points for this class. And then quizzes are 20%. So discussions are kind of, sometimes I have students every semester that don't do them, and then they could have had an A and then they get a B or something, or even, lower. Please make sure to do your discussions. And then as far as your discussions are concerned, you get a video, you get a topic to talk about, you guys talk about it with each other. They're pretty simple assignments. And then 90 to 100% is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, and so on and so forth. Pretty standard. DSPS, if you are registered with DSPS and you require accommodations, please make sure to email your AAP as soon as you can. And then if you're needing help, if you're needing additional help, you can always reach out to DSPS and they will give you more information and resources. So students are expected to uphold the highest standards of academic integrity, meaning no cheating, no plagiarism, do not fabricate answers or get them from ChatGPT. And then I also included the policy of the Citrus College Students Conduct and Discipline page that it corresponds to. So specifically, we're talking about Article 13 of Board Policy 5500. I mean, you could read it if you want to, but it basically says not to cheat. Academic dishonesty includes submitting code or written work that you did not write, copying from classmates, not citing things online, relying on AI tools to complete an assignment for you, generating full solutions from AI, Permitted use of AI are things like looking up proper syntax for C++, after you've tried it doing it yourself, asking AI to maybe clarify a concept that isn't, coming out easy for you. It's similar to what you would do with like a textbook or a tutorial. You can use AI to maybe like do a spell check, or maybe a sentence isn't making sense for you, and then you could just do that. You can, fit it through the AI, and then it'll be like, oh, you, what is it? This sentence is a little smoother. Um, but prohibited uses are using AI to completely generate a code solution for an exam, for example. Do not do that. Using AI to do the discussion prompts for you and to post replies, don't use AI for that. It's not good to do that in general, because they're really, not only are they really simple assignments, but also I care only of your opinion in the discussion post, and the other students should only care about another human's opinion about something. Submitting AI generated code as your own is a prohibited use. Relying on AI in ways that generally bypass your own learning process are prohibited. And it says any use of AI that substitutes for your own learning, understanding, or effort is considered academic dishonesty. If you're unsure whether a specific use is acceptable, ask me before you do it. And then I understand that ChatGPT is very helpful and can help improve your own learning processes, but you guys are still relatively new to coding and programming, and it's important that you build a foundation first on your own, using your own skills. So AI should be avoided at this stage wherever you can. And a lot of the time, students generate these code solutions, and there's errors or something's off with it, or it's usually pretty obvious when it's an AI. Please don't do it. Please do your own work. Reach out if you need help with something. And Yeah, so that's all I'll say about that. But the consequences are outlined here in this link, so please make sure to read those. And then student learning outcomes, communication, create computer programs using industry specifications, using industry tools like Visual Studio, or another IDE like that. Communication, identify the general features of event-driven programming and OOP. Develop your critical thinking, and then use various technology. I've also included a tentative schedule here. For the most part, we just kind of stick to it. All the modules correspond to each of these lessons here. So I'll go ahead and I'll go to the modules at this time and just kind of talk to you a little bit about how to access the work. So each module is released at the beginning of the week automatically. And then I'm using the professor view, so I'm able to see all this stuff. Yours might look a little different. Each module contains an introduction that gives you like kind of well, we could just look at it. Gives you kind of a rundown of what the week's going to be, what you should learn through learning objectives, module instructions for how to complete the module, and then next steps in case you finish early and you want to learn a little bit more. So that's what that does. There's attendance quizzes, like I mentioned before. Complete the first and second week ones within 24 hours to keep your seat in the class. The lesson plans are also part of each module, and there's 1 or 2 pages that'll have typically a reading assignment, video lessons, and a lab. This one doesn't have a lab, and then quizzes. So for week 1, day 1, you also have an orientation section, which you're accessing right now. And then I also wanted to mention that with the reading assignments, sometimes I'll include or a lot of the time I will include a reference to the chapter from the textbook. And you can, browse it or glance at it or look at it for additional information, but you don't need to read it in depth and memorize everything. It's just something you should be looking at and corresponding with. Okay, and then you have your discussion topics. So these assignments consist of 2 parts. You post, you create your own post, and to gain full points, you need to reply to another student's post. And then finally, the modules contain conclusion sections that summarize everything, outline what the key takeaways are, if you make sure that you know these things basically, and then a preview into what's going to be covered the next week. As far as exams are concerned, so week 2, you're going to notice that you get your first prompt for the first exam, and then that's going to outline, what your program should be, and then you're going to get a page that shows more information, more guidelines, but it also includes the rubric, so what specifically is going to be graded on each of these video submissions, and then yeah, and then the following week an exam. So that's pretty much how these modules work. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I will message you as soon as I can. And yeah, so welcome to the class. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.